So make sure that you ask that question, because you don't want to get a surprise bill and then have to struggle trying to make your monthly mortgage payment. Nothing's more exciting than buying a new construction home, but there's a list of items that you really need to think about before you go through the process. So the first thing is, with a new build, is that you're likely going to need 2 appraisals. And the reason why is that new home builders do not want to wait for an appraisal once they finish the home. So the first appraisal is usually done pre-drywall, so before the drywall goes up and there's framing, and that's really just to assess what the value is, to make sure that what you're buying is going to appraise. But then a lender can't close on the transaction with an appraisal with pictures of a house that's under construction. They need evidence that the house is 100% complete, everything, landscaping, cabinets, everything. So the appraiser has to go back a second time, and they have to do what's called a final inspection. Now, the good news is you're not going to pay typically the same fee for the final inspection as you do the original appraisal, but there's usually a fee of $100 to $200 for that reinspection. So just be aware of that. The second thing is, it's probably a good idea to get 2 home inspections. And the reason why is that if you send out a home inspector after the drywall's gone up, they can only point out the things that they can see. And so I would recommend that you do one that's pre-drywall, and then do one afterward, basically right before you close, to make sure that there's no major issues before you sign on the dotted line and the house becomes yours. The next thing is upgrades. So you may not be aware that the home price can go up significantly once you go to the design center. So a lot of times you walk through the model home that they have, and you may not realize they could have easily $100,000 or more in upgrades. And so if you're wowed by the way that house looks, to get the house in the same type of condition with all the same amenities could cost you a lot more than you realize. So just understand that what you see is not necessarily what you're going to get, because they're going to have base model floors, base model, carpeting, base model cabinetry, base model, you get where I'm going, countertops. If you want an extra electrical outlet over here, they're going to charge you a few $100s. So just be aware that you could easily go up 10 to 20% more than the base price of the home. The other thing is that in the state of North Carolina, now you may be in a different state watching this video, but in some states and in North Carolina, if you buy new home construction, the builder makes the buyer pay the state transfer tax. So depending on which state you're in, just understand if it's an existing home in North Carolina, the seller pays it. If it's new construction, new build, you pay it if you're the buyer. The next thing is the materials and the labor for a brand new house tend to be a little bit more expensive than some of these existing homes that were already built. What about cost of materials?
Cost, that's a big one. We don't know what costs are going to do right now. With the volatility of the market, the trade and tariff discussions, we have no idea what costs are going to be.
And because of that, don't be surprised if your cost per square foot is higher than some of the homes that have already been built in the surrounding area. So, you're really paying top dollar for the home in most cases. Not always, but in most cases. The other thing is that some builders have language written into their contracts that will penalize you if you don't close on time. They have late fees, and it could be, a certain amount per day for delaying. So it's very important that your lender close your transaction on time so that you don't get hit with late fees. Construction noise and traffic is something that nobody talks about, but unless you're in the final phase or you're one of the last homes, just be aware that you're going to move into your home and you're going to hear the beep, beep, at 7 a.m. from vehicles backing up. You're going to hear all the construction noise and the pounding nails and saws, and it can affect you in your quality of life. So just keep that in mind if you're buying a new construction home. The other thing is, I would strongly urge you to get a survey. The survey is going to mark out where your property is, your property lines. And that's important, especially with a new build, because I can't tell you how many stories I've heard from closing attorneys where a fence was on a property line or a fence was over the property line, or, a back deck was actually on somebody else's property. So really important to pay for that survey. And then just keep this in mind, is that the property taxes, at least in North Carolina, well, actually most states, I believe, the property taxes are based off of the land value. So the builder's paying property taxes on the dirt that they bought, but now that there's a house built on that, the taxes are going to go up. The county's going to send out an assessor. They're going to assess the property, and just don't be surprised when you suddenly get a tax bill in the mail and it's for a lot more than what the tax bill was for the builder. So I always try to build that into my estimates. If the actual property tax is $50 a month, because that's what the builder's paying, but I think that the taxes should be $250 a month once the structure's built, I'm going to disclose $250, but I can't guarantee you that all loan officers are going to do that. So make sure that you ask that question, because you don't want to get a surprise bill and then have to struggle trying to make your monthly mortgage payment. So again, I hope this is helpful. Congratulations on your new home purchase if you're buying a new build. If you have any questions, feel free to reach me. You can always leave a comment down in the section below. Like and subscribe if you found this video useful. Have a great day.